Hello and welcome. It's me again, Old Man Norimaki, here to give you another tutorial for Half-Genie Hero Costumes Jammies mode. Any percent? Sorry, just had a lot of laughter, so we're good. We're good. Chat's just being chat. Don't mind chat too much. You just listen to the sultry, dulcet tones of my voice and not pay attention to what's scrolling on the screen there. Any rate, Jammies mode, as I've kind of mentioned, if this is not your first video, if you watch my beach tutorial first, Jammies mode is beach mode, but way easier. If you haven't watched beach mode, then just know that Jammies mode is the easier of the two. This will not be too complicated of a run. However, there are some nuances that we will try to cover as we get into them. As always, timing will start upon selecting a new game, for those of you looking to do that. So go ahead and select new game. You will then, of course, if you're overriding an existing one, you'll get this. And once you say yes, that'll be when your time starts. So blah, blah, blah. Any rate, we'll just skip cutscenes here because that's what you do in a speed run. And much like that, again, if you were coming from the beach one to this one, we've got very similar mechanics between these two. You've got cloud jumping, which is the same as bubble jumping, basically just a quick spring of jump followed by an immediate cloud, just boosting the air a little bit quicker. So you get used to rolling your thumb. If you look at the controller display in the bottom left-hand part of my screen, see what I'm doing there. I'm using a claw format to basically do that, and will be used throughout the run generally. So now the advantage of cloud versus bubble is that you don't really run, there's a ceiling here, but the only way I'm gonna fall is when it times out. So touching things when cloud, not punishing. You bounce off of it, that can be a little bit punishing, but you're not immediately popped out of your flying. You just basically bounce off of it and have to get yourself back on course. So feel free to ram into things all you want. I mean, obviously you want to be as smooth as you can getting through these stages, but you don't have to worry about, oh my god, if I touch this I'm gonna die or fall or whatever. So that's an advantage for you here. This first stage is super easy, by the way. Actually, a lot of these stages will be easy and trivialized by the fact that you are able to just fly pretty consistently through them. So just to give you an example of just how easy this is, we're just gonna immediately just say, you know what, we don't care about Tinkerballs. Nobody cares about Tinkerballs. Just swimming, no advantage to swimming in this game, so, or in this particular mode, so you can avoid the water. Just stay in the air. Literally stay in the air. Gems are still important, so keep that in mind. You still want to collect money. The levels do work the exact same way in regards to having just enough money to be able to do more damage. Your weapon of mass destruction in this one, rather than a beach ball, is going to be sheep, and the sheep are way more deadly. You will see this shortly as we go through a couple of different locations here. But it's mainly used on bosses, obviously, because reasons yet be disclosed. And yeah, you basically just want to fly over the stage like there's really nothing going on. Just like in beach mode as well, if you jump out of the cloud, you are able to reapply the cloud again. If you don't do that, you let it time out, then it becomes a different story, and you're likely to get punished for not having done so. I actually have a little bit of a delay in regards to kind of re-triggering in that regard. So you want to make sure that you are jumping first every time that you do that, rather than just letting it expire, as it, again, does take a little bit for you to be able to reapply it should you just let it run out of time. The stage is very quick and easy. You just quickly ascend here. Quite get what I wanted out of that, but you can stop here for these gems. It's kind of okay to do, but you've got to be really quick. I'd rather say that if you want to keep your gen count up, you go for this one, and then you go for these usual ones here. Again, these gems are plentiful and they help. We're already up to level 3, and then really you don't even need to worry about level 4 in this particular guard. In fact, in this mode, sometimes level 3 is more preferred. It's kind of a funny thing. And again, if you need health at the end of this, yep, there's a free health restore for you right there. I'll just go ahead and zip on out of here, but you just fly over these stages. It's very easy. You don't even really have to worry about it. The routing is basically the same as what we're going to run into in beach mode. It just, you get a lot more leniency on this. Now, boss fights. Sheep are your friend. Sheep are wonderful. Sheep are deadly. I think everything in this particular mode has a wool allergy, except for Shantae herself. You will see just how good sheep actually can be. Hopefully I don't mess this up too bad. I tend to not get the kill that I want. Ideally, I think you still want to be level 4 here. I'm a little short, but we should be able to get that off the bell. If I can get this off the bell, this boss is just gonna... You're gonna see a boss and then you're gonna say, where'd he go? Because that's about how the sheep work. And you'll see how and why they're so good. So same old, same old. There you go. That's it. That's all you got to do. If you'll notice during the sheep bouncing through, they drag across the hurt box and they just constantly tick damage. So each sheep was probably pulling about 30 points of damage, and I threw 4 of them. So that's why these bosses don't last long. They just drag through. They just wreck everything. I don't know what it is. You got a wool allergy, you probably can relate. Bye-bye, boss. So that's stage 1. Very easy. All right, stage 2. Again, just like beach mode, very easy. You're gonna spend a lot of time in the air. The routing is pretty good here. We're gonna follow Narc's pathing just because, one, again, you avoid like an extra like couple of enemies that you'd have to navigate around. It's actually a lot smoother in this particular guard. And again, you don't have to worry about the bubble bursting in this case because the cloud doesn't necessarily do that. It's just trying to optimize your movement to the stage and keeping your gem count up. You don't necessarily need to worry about hitting level 4, keeping it right away. So you don't want to take damage, but if you do, it's not going to be the worst thing in the world. In dire situations, you can use your sheep to help out a little bit, but you know, we'll give you an idea here really quick. Basically, you're just going to run along here, and instead, again, no swimming this time. We're going to stay up in the air, just a faster, well, I guess it's about the same amount. Go high here on purpose. You can actually keep the mermaid from spawning and then get by here without a problem. So that way, at least it allows you to not have to worry about having to dodge things that you shouldn't have to normally do so. Again, this cloud jumping, a little spring jump in the air, just gets you a boost, gets you up here pretty easily. You can bounce off of there a couple of times, no big deal. If you really want to deal with this mermaid, you can do that. You can do that instead, or you could just pop over her head a little bit. Either way is fine. It's a little slower, obviously, to throw the sheep unless you want to get up in the air and bounce them, you know, that way. It's kind of like stopping to hit anything. Is just, you don't have to do so. And this stage, very much the same, does not have wetmen like beach mode, so this is actually even easier. Wetmen are a little bit larger and they're harder to dodge. This is kind of more like the base game dungeon. It's got the little alligator dudes and all that, but for the most part, you're just going to want to avoid the stage as much as possible. The ring is a little bit faster, so you get a little bit of a speed boost if you take a little ride there, no big deal. Big pop up here, and right through this gap here. Then you can start doing the cloud jumping that we like to do, which just speeds up the vertical movement. Boom, boom, boom. I'm gonna sneak this one very carefully. There, you just pop right on through here, grab the ring, boop. Oh, I did not want to do that. So that's my hair triggers again on my controller, trolling me. You just jump a little bit faster off of the ring there, whatever. You get to this part here, this is easy. Get relatively close, throw 2 sheep. 1, 2. Sheep will do enough damage to take them out. Deal. Pop that there. You need a heart again, full heart health right there, and then boom, you're out of here. And unfortunately, that stage goes so fast and so good, you don't get to hear the best banger in the game. It's unfortunate. Before I get into the auto scroller, so you know, just like we talk about for any of these modes, you want to minimize, if you can, grabbing those dream squids, the little blue squids that have been floating around the stages. If you grab one, you're going to have a bit of a cutscene that's going to eat about 10 seconds of your time or more, and unfortunately, can also kill you depending on which one you get. Most of these are not in a spot where they're going to be too dangerous. My recommendation is fly when you can, and especially on this auto scroller, you know, as we saw in beach mode, which you do have to stay down for the sunscreen to keep from roasting to death. You don't have that concern in this particular mode. So this one, you can fly to your heart's content. If you really want to do it, you just ignore the entire mechanic. However, you are in need of gems as you're going to get ready for the next upcoming fight. This is a great place to get some, especially early. Once you get there, then you can play it safe for the rest of it if you want. So auto scroller, not really much to say here. You just want to dodge barrels, but again, like you say, you can just do this all day. No big deal. I don't need any gems in this regard, so I could actually just do this. Now I gotta be careful. Some of these dream squids are a little higher, but like you see them down there, kind of learn their locations. That way you can learn how to dodge them. You can worry about the ads if you want to. I just usually like to throw a sheep out and be done with them. Sometimes it hits them, sometimes it doesn't. Just depends. That was a deadly squid back there, so pay that one in mind. It was right at the end of a platform. And again, there's some reason once you collect when you get the cutscene, there's a delay before you actually are able to do an input. And that input will come too late in that particular regard of that one back there. So pay very close attention of that in that jumping segment, because you grab that one, you're likely to eat the pit and have to start the stage over again. So just a heads up. Otherwise, this is basically going to be the stage for me. I'm not going to grab any of these guys. I'm just going to do that. Also, way forward, way as if this wasn't trivialized enough by the cloud. They've also removed some of the barrels in this particular mode. Don't know why. Snipes. But yeah. Oh, and one thing to be careful of if you are going to do this flying method, when you get to this final part here, get back down on the conveyor belt. If you're way up there and you're doing that jumping mode, you actually soft lock the stage. So do not put yourself in that situation where you're way up there and then suddenly you get to where the trigger is and you completely bypass it. The stage will just sit there and keep going without you being able to do anything. And it's, I'll just say quite unfortunate should that occur. But that's basically that in a nutshell. Again, if you don't need gems, you can just trivialize the entire stage, have fun. You don't even really have to kill those gators on the ropes there either. They really don't present a problem even when they throw the fish. So you can just stay out of the way completely, but just remember, get down before the end of it, before you end up soft locking the game. And you're going to move on to the boss here. So Mermaid is kind of the same. Start with phase 1, 6 locks, 3 on each side, and you want to try to knock them out as quickly as possible. Sheep will help you at least in the initial, but your pillow is going to be your better weapon here. So at level 4, you're going to do 16 points of damage with that puppy. It only takes, I think, 3 hits per lock to take him out. So what you want to do on this one is you're going to start by throwing 2 sheep off to the right, and hopefully those 2 sheep will drag through properly and break it, but it doesn't always happen. I don't know why, but it's I at least I struggle with it personally. The rest of the rings or the locks, you'll just have to kind of take case by case. Again, the mermaid's got 3 different attacks. She's got her height beam, which can either be just a slow rotation or tracking on you, depending. You'd rather not see the tracking one. She's got her little bubbles, which will home in on you. They'll travel for a bit, stop, reacquire you, move towards you, that kind of stuff there. And then the last one is the big giant bubble, which will follow you, but it's very slow and just takes up a lot of space. Not too hard to dodge, but force you out of your way if you're really trying to go for a quicker time. So those are the things to be cognizant of as you get towards this particular portion. And as Narc here says in chat, yeah, that first lock breaking when you throw the 2 sheep is kind of RNG for some reason. It's just lucky. Sometimes you get the additional drag of the sheep, other times it just doesn't take, and you have to go down and give it one more swat. Call it good. So this will be it in motion. Hello, Giga Mermaid. How are you? 1, 2, 3. I'm going to throw 3. You can get away with 2, but I'm just going to go ahead and turn around. So we got the non-tracking height beam, which is unfortunate, but I'm just going to go through it, take the damage, and then just get down here. Break that one. Call it good. And then second phase, this one, you can 1-cycle her. Technically, I should have been able to kill her, but for some reason, I wasn't launching sheep properly. If you get right in her face and you're able at level 4, which I was not at, but I think even level 3, you get away with it. You can get up there. You usually will hit her with 3 sheep. They'll drag through crystal and do a lot of damage. And then usually 1 additional pillow strike will break it down. Unfortunately, I failed that, but I don't know that I can. Yeah, I probably wouldn't be able to even reset it. But the sheep do way more damage, especially if they drag through properly. So a quick 2-rounder is not bad. I mean, you can definitely get that one round in. That would be the preferable one. Watch a run. Watch any of the recorded speed runs. I think on speedrun.com. I think all current PBs on there, at least the top ones, have the 1 cycle. So just check it out, see what's done there, and it'll give you a pretty good sense of how to do it. So it's basically stage 2 in a nutshell. Again, Jammies mode being super simple as always. Sheep. I'm gonna say, remember that one word, sheep. Everything's solved by that. Anyway, we'll move on here shortly to our next stage, level 3 in the desert, which is probably one of the more challenging parts of the run. One of 2, I would say, in that regard. So see you on that next part. Okay, so stage 3. This is easy. 3-1, very simple. Unless you're in dire need of gems, and even then, probably not a big problem. This will be a very easy stage for you. Ideally, again, because there's no advantage to going to the water, there's no reason for you to be down at the bottom of the stage. This one is simply fly. This is a good time to just read chat, interact with your chat if you're doing these live. Just do whatever it is. If you need gems, don't even worry about it. I wouldn't even try to force it early, because as per usual, as every one of these stages basically has, look at this, a whole island of them all here. And look at that, we're level 4. Well, darn, no. Now you can just stay out of the way of everything. You don't have to worry about jerk birds. You don't need to worry about the cactus. Don't need to worry about any of the mess. Just go. Speaking of jerk birds, bye jerk bird. Need I say more? Jump, reapply, jump, reapply, jump, reapply. Admire the very chocolatey brown, milk chocolatey brown background, because it's the most exciting thing you're gonna see. Maybe the little wisps of the clouds in the wind, you can admire those a little bit, sure, but yeah, there's no reason to stop here. None. Little bit there, dip a little bit lower to avoid these shots from the cacti. Otherwise, no big deal. Yeah, look at this parallax scrolling. Yes. Make sure you drop down there so you're not banging against the end wall, obviously. Go into the next loading zone. But I hope you enjoyed your vacation, because now you actually have to play the game. And this is not easy. Like, beach mode has a slight advantage in one particular part of this. I'm probably going to fail this a couple of times, which is going to be really annoying. Just because there's one particular part that has a bunch of fireballs. There's 3 statues deviously placed and timed to be just the biggest nuisance. It can be the hardest thing to get through if you do it wrong. And if you take a hit, maybe you get lucky, maybe you don't. If you completely screw it up, you're going right down into Wilbur and having to start the entire stage over. So this is the rough part, and we'll be ready for this. We'll try to get ready for this as much as we can. But you want to be aggressive. You want to go fast. You don't want to dilly-dally too much here. Obviously, you're being chased by Wilbur. It is what it is, and we'll do our best to try to get through this. All right, stage 3-2, the Wilbur chase in the tower. Again, as I mentioned, this is one of the more deviously difficult parts. Well, one portion of it is. We'll talk about it in depth when I get there. It'll be a little tricky. I'll try to execute the strat that I talk about. It's not going to be the easiest. Likely, you're going to have to see what the backup is going to look like. And I'm not going to sit here and try to do it over and over and over again. You guys get bored with that, and that would not be fun. All right, so this is basically a start just like you think it is. We're going to come in here, basically trigger our little cutscene, wait for Wilbur to expose himself. Put your worm away, Holly. Thank you very much. And then bubble jumping, I'm going to call it, but cloud jumping. That wasn't exactly the smoothest. Obviously, there is a smoother way of navigating it. My recommendation here is to get to this platform, and then second one here, and then you're able to do your little cloud jumps. Get some speed over there. It just kind of speeds up your ascension a smidge. Just like bubble, don't move left or right there, and you're fine. And then boom. Sneak around here. This is the tricky part. So coming up here is the part with the 3 statues. The 2 on the right, the one in the middle on the left. And they fire intermittently. Now in beach mode, you get platforms and you're able to speed them with bubble jumping. don't have any platforms here. So this is one of the trickier parts of this particular ascension. If you get beat up here, wouldn't be surprised. And if it goes too much, you're going to have Wilbur coming up right behind you because he does rubber band. You're never absolutely free of him. So if you're going to fall here, it's likely going to be into Wilbur's mouth. You're going to have to start the stage again. But ideally, what you're going to want to do here is sneak off to the left-hand side of the wall. And then you're going to see the first statue, which should be on the right, shoot at you. Jump, reapply your cloud, and drift off to the right. And then jump again when that left one fires, and then go back to the left and then reapply your cloud again. You should be able to get by all three of them. It's not the easiest one. Sometimes your input gets eaten and you're probably going to take damage. So your backup would be, if you do eat a fireball, is give it a little bit of time. I want to give a time frame, but I want to say it's like a half second before you like immediately try to reapply your cloud, because you can't do it while you're in damage, but after the animation ends, you should be able to reapply your cloud. That'll put you in a good spot where you should just be able to casually float your way up past the next one, or at least get to a spot where you can jump and be away from it. That would be the ideal scenario. Probably the more likely outcome in this regard, especially because of how tight these jumps are going to be. But we'll give it a try here and see what I can do, and you at least get a general sense of how to get by this. That's not a good start. Well, there's the damage I was talking about. But then if you do that, that's the worst case scenario. Well, not really the worst case, but that first jump, unfortunately, my input got eaten and I dropped almost as far as I freaking went up, and I had to kind of reapproach it from the beginning again. So taking the damage at least will set you up. And then if you're able to reapply the cloud and not drop into Wilbur's mouth, it should be recoverable in that regard. Again, like, you would want to get a slightly better outcome by maybe weaving your way through there. There's also a good jump you can do, reapply your cloud, and then all you have to do is kind of just weave your way, and it actually works out really well too. Again, check some of the current runs on speedrun.com for this particular section. You'll probably see some different approaches for that. Give you some ideas of maybe what approach would work better for you, or even see what a clean one would look like, and give you a good sense of what you want to do. But this is going to take practice to get through this segment. It's probably the most difficult part of the tower climb, in my opinion. I think it absolutely is, and maybe even the most tricky part of the entire run. Just that one little space. But once you're past it, it's going to be free sailing here. So we'll go ahead and complete the stage out. Get your gems back there. If you take a hit, come up on the right hand side here. And then if you don't bonk, you probably won't necessarily beat that cycle with the fireballs, and they do outspeed you in this mode. But if you do get there, you can just duck underneath them. Obviously, it's going to be faster to jump on that chain rather than just slowly climb it or even float. Once you get that 3 hit there, you can do that. And then again, just like in beach mode, you're going to go right up the middle and then just kind of pop out, reapply your jump so you get that little extra boost of speed every platform you can, and take advantage of it. Stick to the left here, that one really quick, and then be careful of this guy. Allow him to do that, but then a cloud jump here will get you up and above these ones here. You can easily just float in, done and over with. You're out of the stage, easy peasy lemon squeezy. So once it's that one early part of the particular stage there. If you practice that, you get through it somewhat consistently in whatever method works for you. The rest of this will be no problem. We'll move on to Sky Bridge, which is by itself easier in this mode, but not the easiest, and we'll explain why very shortly. All right, let's talk Sky Bridge. So section 3.3 here. This one is not going to be too difficult by comparison to other modes. Probably one of the easiest ways of dealing with it in this particular one, again, because you don't have to worry about the invisible ceiling off the top of the screen. You do have to worry about, obviously, your cloud timing out, but you're going to be able to continually use the jump and reapply method, but it's got a really smaller window. So you got to be very careful about how you want to approach this stage from that particular standpoint. If you happen to be up against the ceiling, I always find this out the hard way. If you're really absolutely up against the ceiling, you press jump to unapply your cloud and you try to reapply it, you're going to get punished. And usually you're going to fall to your doom. It happens to me more often than I care to admit. So you have to kind of mentally picture you bouncing along the top there if you're going to ride it, and know when you should probably jump and reapply. But Like your safest method obviously will be to fly over as much of this stage as you possibly can. You're going to avoid the archers. You're going to avoid a lot of the problems. And if you can keep moving, if you can keep your moving without pausing too much, should avoid spawning jerk birds too, which can get up top of the screen and be a hindrance as well. So you really want to keep your motion fluid here. You do need to dip down a couple of times only for the sake of you have to do a screen transition or something blocking you. Or like other locations that are built that way within the stage. So, you know, you're not completely out of the woods in regards to that. And then you've got some really tricky movement to get through there. I probably won't execute this at top level, but definitely, again, like I recommend, check some of the top runs on speedrun.com. You'll get a good sense of the best way to navigate it. I would highly recommend maybe Space Narc as an example to watch him. There's a really cool strat that you can do in one spot that you just gets you right through, and it's really cool. So we'll try to do that. But again, it's basically fly over it as much as you can. If you need health, hey, look at that. A free full bit of health at the top here, or right at the start of the stage. But you want to stay high. These guys like do. So you can see what I'm doing here is I'm staying off the top of the screen, but just barely. Oh, God, it's scary. You want to stay out of the range of the archers if you can. You can stop there for gems if you need. And down here, you have to go underneath. No, nothing for it. More gems here if you require. Which I probably should think about getting one, but I'm not too worried about it right now. Now, if you see me dramatically drop back into the screen, it's going to be one of those situations where I goofed. Oh, no. Oh, no. Okay. That could have gone worse. I will stop for this gem pot now that I took a hit there. That was not the ideal scenario there. Dropped down just a little. I actually reapplied the cloud just a little too soon, and because of that I got caught. So that was the unfortunate piece of that particular bit, but good news is we avoided spawning any of the jerk birds. Again, just stay up in the air here. Usually you like to get popped into the screen. You'll learn the timing with practice. There's a jerk bird getting spawned. Fortunately, he didn't come into an area. Ooh, I barely got out of the way there. Underneath. Up here, if you need the health, you can stop for that and then jump out of the screen just like in beach mode, as I talked about in that one. If you have not seen that, then you get an idea. That archer can shoot you in the bum as you're going through that door, and you can take damage and lose valuable gems right as you're about to leave the screen. Not that that's a big deal with this particular upcoming boss fight. Wilbur is pretty easy in this mode, actually way easier than in beach, but you just don't want to. It's just an annoyance. So you deal with it as best you can, and as long as you kind of learn the flying technique, again, jump, reapply your cloud, jump, reapply your cloud, do it on a rhythm, you're going to get through that stage pretty easily. Again, I just kind of fumbled a couple of times there, but nothing too detrimental. We move on to the boring boss fight that is Wilbur. All right, Wilbur. Boring boss, except when he wants to make it exciting. He can make it exciting. I don't know why. Second verse, same as the first. The only difference here with this boss is he can't predict your angle. Crawl, do whatever, have fun, do this. It doesn't matter. He's gonna track where you were and fire there, not where you're headed. Thank goodness. So at least you don't have to worry about being sniped by this guy. Now, of course, usual thing. Watch out for the fireball. Try to get to it as quickly as possible. Fortunately, if you're lucky, he'll at least put it somewhere near you. And then just usual stuff. Now, this is fun with this stage. So after his eyeball comes out, this very first one, pop yourself a sheep out that way. That counts as a hit. But now you don't have to worry about like the usual strat. You're just going to basically bounce this a couple of times. It's going to go off. Make sure that you remember that you hit it early, because if you don't, you're going to waste the sheep, and that could put you in a very bad spot in regards to magic. You can see I'm not at full magic at this point, and obviously the later stages is you have the eyeball bouncing back and forth. It'll be a lot faster. It's a little bit harder to hit. So the sheep make it easy. However, if you run out of magic, you may put yourself in a nasty spot. You do get one magic drop from the eyeball, but it's not until like the third or fourth phase. So it's not the greatest thing to have happen if you do run out. Just try to remember that. Again, this only works on the first one. So the future ones here, you're going to want to go ahead and just start popping sheep. Now, you don't really need to wait for a particular moment. They last long enough that they're going to bounce around long enough, and then just boom, So just know that it'll always end on the left-hand side or that opposite side of the screen both times, so you're not wasting the additional magic here. Gonna help Wilbur look for that contact list he says he dropped. I think he's lying. We're mad about this. This phase, obviously, the fireball is the first thing to drop, other than the last. There's the magic drop. So if you're running low on magic, I like to get a jump in there at the last possible moment, so it's slow motion. And boom. Easy. That eyeball shouldn't be no problem as long as you have magic. You just keep tossing sheep left and right alternately, and they will do the rest. Wilbur tried to be a jerk. Oh, he still is going to be a jerk. That's fine. Losing 3 gems isn't the worst scenario. I'll be able to get that back very easily. We'll have level 4 for our next boss fight coming up with Twitch and Vinegar. Not a big deal. That's basically that fight in a nutshell. It's just RNG for good times. You want Wilbur to try to drop those fireballs as close to you as possible. Generally, if he wants to be a real jerk, he's going to pop them on the other side of the arena, and you're going to have to chase him down. And in a take prior to this, it was so bad that I couldn't even get to it in time. I think I hit it, and then it broke after I hit it. So I didn't even get a chance to get into the cannon, which that starts him back again. He'll go back to trying to shoot you, and the entire phase repeats until you can actually successfully get cannonball shot. So hope that doesn't happen. Just basically hope that doesn't occur. At any rate, that's stage 3 in a nutshell. Very easy in this mode. Said tower climb, probably the worst part, and it's only that one segment. The rest of it's really simple. So enjoy that one. Practice, practice, practice. All right, stage 4-1 is an auto scroller. Hey, we're back on carpets. Let's go. This is not a lot to talk about. Again, if you're short on gems, especially after the Wilbur fight or whatever happened on Skybridge, good place to get it. Just kill people. The pillow is so big you don't even have to duck for the short guy, which is nice. And just kind of swing away. Try to pick up your gems. And again, of course, just be mindful of the dream squids. They're still an ever-present danger. Again, you should not have picked up any by this point. At least you wouldn't think so. And you won't be picking up any for this run just because there's no point. Once you're maxed, you can do whatever you want. Just make sure you don't like go off the left-hand side of the screen, as that will automatically kill you. And you can either feel like you want to be a real cheater and knock off all these racers, or you can leave them alone and just outrun them. Either way, you're still cheating because you're not on your own carpet. But hey, you know, we got invites to a slumber party to give out, so. All right, so easy peasy for that. The boss fight here is very simple. Twitch and Vinegar is like nothing. Again, sheep. Favorite word of the speed run. Sheep, sheep, sheep. You're gonna see just how busted these poor guys are, and get enough damage out. Again, they're gonna drag right through these hitboxes, and unfortunately, these poor girls just have a wool allergy, like everything else in this run. Don't know how to deal with it, and end up basically needing to go to the hospital afterwards. So wait for the carpet to move forward and then just start tossing. Just toss. Ideally, you'll probably get it within the first 4 if you can get them both. The arcs of them will usually track through both of them as they're rotating, which is even better, and you can do that. But there is no boss fight here. It's just a speed bump. That's basically all that is. So that's Twitch and Vinegar. Bye. Moving on. We'll be going into outside of airships. That is, it's going to be a thing. We'll see how this goes and hopefully be able to get through it without too much struggle. It's kind of similar to how it is in every run. You're going to want to do a little bit of damage boosting to maybe save yourself a laser cycle where you can. A lot of the stuff that's necessarily dangerous in this run isn't so dangerous in this one. in the fact that you can usually fly over most of it. But there are ships obviously keeping you from being able to fly over everything. So we'll try to address them as we go along and go from there. I think we're good. All right. All right, stage 4-2. Yeah, we're at 4-2. Had to think about that for a second. Outside of airships, relatively about the same as it's going to be just about in every mode, except for a little bit safer. However, their cannons can still be a royal pain in this particular one. Sometimes it's going to be better to just damage boost rather than chance getting around them. Put you in a little safer position rather than like hoping that you're going to get your cloud back out and be able to avoid falling to your doom. So we're just going to go through this really quick here. It's a very standard stage. Like I say, just nothing too sketchy going on here. You're going to basically just kind of go over everything. You can kill a lot of these soldiers very easy, but it's just easier. Also, watch out for the ceiling. It's about that high. So you're not exactly going to be able to go over everything the way that you're used to, or at least accustomed to in these particular modes, since the ceiling is considerably lower here. That's one of them that you're likely to just take damage there. Throw 3 sheep or so here, and if you follow them close enough, you should be able to get through no matter how many soldiers they throw at you. Get your gems back here after you take whatever damage boost you do. You could probably beat that cannon. I like to just kind of respect it just a smidge. Everyone's favorite word of the day, smidge. See, like the cannons will still, they will snipe you, or at least they will try. I could have made that cycle had I not taken the shot, which would get you in here sooner. It's fine if it doesn't. Obviously, for optimal, times and whatnot, you would want to try to beat that cycle if at all possible. Otherwise, the stage is pretty easy. And then the last damage boost you got to do here, obviously, is this one. Come down here, drop to this guy, kill him really quick, and then if you're fast enough, you can beat that laser, and you're just going to move on. And I wouldn't worry about the gem count here. You want to be maybe as close to as full as possible, but we're going to get some real easy, quick and easy gems at the beginning of this stage. So that would be probably one of the better ways to deal with it. Again, a couple of those cannons you could probably try to avoid, but it's really sneaky to do. It just takes some getting used to, but once you do get kind of used to the flow of this stage, it should go very simple. All right, 4-3. Let's talk inside of airships. Again, you should be in a good gem position here. You may have taken some damage getting through the outside, but you should be close enough to be able to get to level 4. If you don't make level 4, don't stress it. There are plenty of gems right here at the beginning. If you really absolutely need some, if you're really down, there are actually 48 within the first screen you can get. 24 relatively within route. The other 24 are outside of route, but certainly there in a dire emergency. The highest recommendation I'd give to you is try to remain as close to level 4 as you possibly can as you go through this. We are going to take 1 intentional damage boost just for the sake of speed, and you should be able to recover from it, or at least be really, really close to getting back to level 4 should you execute it properly and not put yourself in a dire straits as we get ready for our upcoming boss. But first, we got to get through this. So the thing to remember going into this stage is the first thing that you want to do is cloud almost immediately, because that gem pot, the first one that's on route, is right next to you. So if you fall all the way down to the bottom, it might be quicker to just go get the bottom ones on the right rather than coming back up for this. But if you do remember to do so, snag this one right here as soon as you drop in. Cloud. Oh, didn't work. You would cloud in. Normally you wouldn't be stopped there. I'm kind of recovering from a bad take. So that's the first one you would get. Pop over here, grab this one. There's the next 12. Down there was more. This screen, all it takes is 1 sheep to kill anything. So just kind of periodically toss one to keep guys out of your way. Drop down here. Watch out for these lasers. If you have to wait, watch out for the incoming soldiers that are likely to be coming. And then again down here, next lasers, watch out. You won't likely ever make that cycle unless you want to skip that one. And now this is the screen that we're going to take the intentional damage boost. So what we're going to do is, just like in beach mode, we're going to go directly up. And then what we're going to do is we're actually going to damage boost off of a bat. It'll be up here. I'll talk through it. So this bat right here will be our damage boost. We're going to basically use him to skip these lasers, so we don't have to wait for these laser cycles here to our right. When taking this damage boost, it is highly imperative that you do it from the right hand side of the bat. You jump directly up underneath it or hit it from the left hand side, you're going to run out of iframes, and it's going to get you in trouble with the soldier waiting on the other side here. he's going to hit you with a stick of dynamite, and that's going to be 3 points of damage for that. So be mindful that when you do this strat, you want to hit the right hand side of the bat. As soon as you do, go immediately, don't hesitate. And remember to bubble jump at the end of this. If you just tend to jump in and throw sheep like I do, like an idiot, obviously you're going to fall down and it's going to become even messier. So try to avoid that. Hopefully if you do it properly, it should look something like this. There you go. So just like that, you see I didn't take the damage from the dynamite. I was able to get that, and then you just grab these 12 pots of gems. It'll put you about 2 short of being able to get to level 4. Maybe RNG was nice, you got some of your gems back after taking the damage boost off the bat, but if not, it's not a big deal. Level 3 is plenty for this particular room, and just like the previous one with soldiers, we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to launch a sheep periodically to be a road, like a bulldozer, to clear our path, and these guys will drop you some gems along the way. So likely as you're going through this, you're going to get back to level 4 no problem. So that's basically how that works perfectly. Now my favorite screen transitions coming up here shortly. When you come down here, basically as soon as you get through that screen transition, or as you're going through it, drop into cloud. You'll be high enough, or at least you should be high enough to be able to go over the next 2 monsters. As you go to the left, you can then drop down and do the same thing and clear it. It's going to be really cool. Basically do this, drop down here, do that. Voila, easy peasy screens, no problem. And your last room here, this one, you might take a hit or two depending on how cleanly you can do it. It's more about the saw blades than the soldiers, really, in this regard. Do try to respect it. Obviously, again, you want to try to remain as close to level 4, if not maintain level 4. Going into the boss, it'll be after this. There is a full health restore right before you do that, so you don't need to worry about your health as much. Just try to keep your gems up. You can navigate this any way that you see fit. I need to remember to actually not get myself into a bad spot like this, but whatever. We're going to lose some gems here. Cleanly, you'd want to go above all of that mess if you can. The saw blades will be your biggest concern. I just did a bad cloud jump and ended up falling, so I had to do the kind of the backup here. But again, full health, no problem. Pop up here, take out your engine. I like to throw a sheep at it first before I smack it a few times with a pillow, and we're fine. 25 gems isn't scary. This boss doesn't require you to be at level 4, but you definitely want to try to be as quick as possible. And there's a couple of different methodologies that you're going to want to think about as you go into the ammo baron fight. All right, let's talk ammo baron. Ammo baron, I'm going to kind of show if you came in here with taking a hit in the last room. Ideally, you want to be here at level 4, but obviously you should have full-ish magic, or at least close to it. In regards to that, there are plenty of magic drops that occur as long as you get a lot of the soldiers with your sheep. Sheep are obviously the main source of damage here. A couple of different philosophies to think about. You could quickly do a cloud jump to get a little bit more height to be next to the Baron and throw more sheep and get him with them. I don't know that that's necessary in this regard. It's actually a little risky too, especially when you get to this phase where soldiers exist. But the sheep kind of help mitigate that a little bit. They're big enough where when you're throwing them, they actually kind of act like a small umbrella for Shantae, so you are able to kind of stay in there and get a little bit more going in your advantage. But you're likely to tank some hits through this too. Fortunately, the soldiers will drop you not only magic, but they also drop gems and health. So as you're tanking damage, you should be able to maintain a decent enough level to be able to keep it going. But the main strat here is to just keep trying to keep sheep on or throwing at ammo baron in that regard. So we'll go through this moderately. So this may not be the best example of what it will look like in a speedrun sense as you practice and get better with it. Obviously, this should start to go a lot more smoother. Again, check out some of the top speedruns on speedrun.com for a general idea of how the fight would go in a more optimal sense. Not that it always goes to plan, because ammo baron is ammo baron. But ideally, you're just going to be right here doing a thing, pushing him through his phases as quickly as possible. The limiter being basically your magic level will determine how many sheep you can have out at any given time. You kind of have to wait for them to expire before you're able to do that. That is, you're able to push him through the phases. You probably won't see too much happening, and if the sheep's arcing just right, you're going to get 2 hits per throw, maybe 3 if you're really lucky. That fight is not all that dangerous, so as adverse to most of the other ones. This is a pretty simple one. No manipulation required. The sheep do a ton of damage. They do the heavy lifting. Ammo Baron's out for the count, and in his skivvies. And his beautiful face has taken a hit. What in the world has actually hurt him so much? We don't know for sure. What is in that pillow? I have no idea. I think it's just feathers. Oh, never mind. Now we have a spoiler. Hiya! Now we know why the pillow does so much damage. There we go. Broken. All right. Shouldn't take much here. We're gonna talk the way through our next stage. This isn't so bad. This is Hypno Baron's castle. And just like other stages, it's basically just get through as quickly as possible. So again, tossing a sheep goes a long way. At least it'll keep you from having to stop. Watch out for the falling candles, obviously. Those still do damage. If you need gems, 12 here, 12 there. You could stop for either of those. We only have, instead of a bat here, we have a silly spider that likes to walk and track that way, get in your way perfectly, but easy to avoid with the cloud, and again, not having to worry about touching things. And as you come through here, just toss yourself one sheep. That clears the way. And then you've got one damage boost you're gonna have to take here. My recommendation is to hit that one there, because that'll get you through with the iframes with a lot less hassle. And then just float, boom, easy. Stage, not so hard. I mean, you will be down a little bit on gems. Not so requirement. To be honest with you, being level 4, going into the boss actually works against you in this particular run. You'd rather be level 3. So ideally, we're already set up where we want to be. We want to minimize our damage. Try not to take any going through this next stage, and we'll be exactly where we want to be for our next upcoming boss fight. So first, we got to navigate Graveyard. All right, let's talk Graveyard, section 5.3. This is not too much different from the beach mode version if you're coming from that to this one. Beach mode is also very similar to this, although a little bit trickier in the fact that you've got a little less leeway with certain things. But that said, it's more about flying through the stage, but also watching out for spikes, watching out for bats, which are probably the biggest, I'd say the biggest concern of this particular stage. You could handle them one of two ways. You can slap them with a pillow if you want to. You can toss some sheep, but try to conserve your magic to a certain extent. You do need it for the upcoming boss fight, and very, very little to, I'd say it's like few and far between to get a drop like that, obviously, when you're killing bats. So all you're doing by throwing sheep here is giving yourself maybe a slight disadvantage going into that boss fight. But ideally, obviously, you want to get through it as cleanly as possible here. There is full health if you absolutely need it at the beginning of the stage, as per usual. So it's a lot like that. But otherwise, you don't need to worry about the eyeball platforms. And you can go over or under things as you see fit. Just make sure that you just keep flowing. Take it a little lower in some cases, because again, you got to respect these bats and their dropping radius. Obviously, the spiders are no real challenge. Try not to hit platforms like I just did there in order to slow yourself down. Watch out for the jerk birds, which are probably the biggest threat, I would say, in the fact that they can do that. But again, remember that you can bump against the invisible ceiling and not have to worry about it breaking your momentum out of the cloud here. Go really low here, because that goes underneath, and you don't have to worry about the bat, which would actually hit you and take you into the spikes. So you want to avoid that if at all possible. Stay high here, no problem. And again, just watch out for jerk birds if they happen to be a thing. You can also just go over the top here, no big deal. No like iffy things like cloud jumps or anything like that to get through this. Stage is very open in most cases, except where it's not like here where you do have to go underneath. Step on underneath this guy. Same thing here, and then watch out for this. Again, you're avoiding these squids, so just do a quick cloud jump there. If you do come back on the screen, you don't have to worry about it. Watch out for that bat here. And then you've got to really, this is a really tight part. Like when you come into this, you want to get down low enough that you trigger the spider to walk forward. Otherwise, she's going to stand right where I'm at right now. And that's a really rough window to get through, because you can come in there, swipe down. I'm pointing at the screen like you guys could totally see this. I wish I had the drawing tool that Narc did, but you can slip in between the two. It's an extremely tight gap, and you're likely to take damage on the spider in that process. So ideally, you could flush her like I just did there, kind of make it take a little bit slower. But from a speed aspect, if you're really going for good times, you're gonna learn how to get that drop in between the bat and the spider where you land just behind her, and then you're able to run into the door. You're not gonna be at full health, most likely. If you are, congratulations. If you get through the drop, that's even better. This is full health that I'm standing on here, but it's not really going to be necessary. So again, that's going to take a little bit of practice at the end. That ending is rough with that spider sitting there. If she hits you, hopefully she doesn't take you down to level 2. Hopefully you can maintain level 3. And if you maintain level 3, then you are in a really good spot, because again, that's the ideal place to be here. We're going to go into the boss fight next, and being level 3, chef's kiss. You'll see why shortly. All right, so dual barons. This isn't too well. This is a vastly different fight because the sheep obviously break things wide open here. It starts with the exact same pattern. It's the exact same fight that you know it from every mode in this game. Always going to start with Squid Baron being your first opponent, and then it switches to both barons being in play. And again, it's the same thing. Focus down Squid Baron because you do not want to leave him alone. If you take down Hypno Baron first by accident, sorry, that's going to be painful, but you'll get through it. I'm sure it just will hurt a little bit. The way this fight does start, though, is you want to just immediately throw all 3 sheep that you can. Being at level 3, you should be able to toss 3. And that's even before you move. So don't think about moving. Just toss the sheep first, then run in and start swinging with the pillow. Very important you do that because these sheep are going to be in a good spot where Squiddy is going to back up, and as he's doing so, the sheep are going with him. Adds a little bit of damage. Generally, he may not even move. If you do it properly, he may not move at all, and that'd be better. So, ideal first opening. Let's see if we can do it. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so he moves, but you get everything back. Like he does a lot of, he takes a lot of damage just from those sheep alone. If the pillow is a good way to finish off, if you want, you can maybe get a 4th one once your other one expires. That's up to you. Shantae fortunately did me a solid and went towards where all the gems fell out of his hitbox. So we were able to get not only magic, but also our gems back. And that may have been enough. No, not quite, but it puts us deep into level 3. But we're going to go into the next phase. And now this is just the standard fare. What you want to see happen here is Squid Baron is dropped near you and not away from you. That way both your sheep and the pillow can just do massive amounts of damage to him. We're going to push through this phase very quickly, and then you're going to get Hypno Baron doing the usual infinity pattern. He's going to loop, 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 and he's going to swap sides like that. So you want to kind of stick with them. There's a really good strat that Narc has if the Hypno Baron is going in the right rotation. And it's involving like a quick cloud jump to get like good trajectory on the sheep, which will bounce higher from being thrown at a higher altitude. And they kind of track along with the way that he moves. So it's get used to identifying that. Check out Narc's run on speedrun.com. I believe his PB on there has this fight, and it looks beautiful when executed properly. So that'll take some practice. It's not one I'm particularly good at, but if you can keep the sheep flowing in and about where he's at, you can just let them do the vast majority of the work and not have to worry about using the pillow too much. If you get a bad rotation, you're going to have to adjust to it. It's really all there is. This is literal RNG at work as per usual in way forward games. So just learn how to react to it. Hopefully we'll get something good to show off here, but no guarantees. At any rate, let's go. So I'm mixing in a little bit of both. That was really good lucky damage for me on that one. So that was kind of like I say, reacting to what he's doing, and he gave me a good pattern. The sheep were tossed well, and he tracked along with them, which just eviscerates. So as dual baron fights go, you want something like that for sure. Yeah, for sure you want that. That's not always how it works out, but you'll take it. Again, practice, get used to the different patterns, and hopefully you get nice RNG like that. All right, final stretch time. Welcome to Risky's Lair. 6.1 is not that much different from the beach mode version. Only again, you don't have to respect the invisible ceiling here as much as you do in beach mode, obviously. But for the most part, it's basically flying over as what you can. There are very little gem opportunities here, so ideally you want to keep your gem count as high as possible by avoiding damage. There are a lot of Tinkerbats though, and some of these areas to navigate are tricky, very, very tricky. As we go through this particular stage, kind of talk through things. You can't just fly over the entire stage, unfortunately, because there are things in the way, platforms and whatnot, that require you to go down into it. But for the most part, you want to try to stay out of the range of the firing Tinkerbats, the ones flying in the air on their little gyrocopters, because their guns do 4 points of damage. So you don't want to be tanking those. Plus, you lose valuable gems. And again, gems are a scarce resource. There's one good location for it, but it's going to put you into a risky position to go out of your way to get it. You can avoid it no problem. And then a lot of the Tinker tanks, I don't know what else to call them, like the big turtle looking guys with the Tinker bats on them, will get in your way, obviously. And your sheep aren't necessarily the best option. Well, they are because they'll go through them and kind of butcher them, but you still need to get a pillow swing in there too. And there's some deviously placed Tinker bats as well in this one too. And their timing and their rotations of being able to shoot can make things a little scary at some points. There is one very deviously placed squid, dream squid, to look out for. If you grab it, you're likely to die. It's over not only just a pit of lava, but also a spike pillar that's likely going to be coming for you. If you grab it, you're going to lose your input ability, and likely you're going to bite it. So we'll try to avoid that. Pointed out when we get there, a cloud jump goes a long way to avoiding grabbing it, or even flying if you can do it ahead of time. So be mindful of those things. We'll try to get through this stage as best as we can. It's basically, you're just going to go for it. And again, this is really just stay high. Again, you don't have to worry about the ceiling, so it keeps you away from everything. Again, employ your little jump rhythm here. Stay high to avoid everything, including this dream squid. And then this guy here, make sure you're obviously super high to get over that. And then down here, you want to do a quick drop, and watch out for that. So that bullet there, that's a really tricky one. It'll take some practice. You might get shot by that Tinkerbat, because you have to come down underneath that overhang there in order to get through here. If you do take a hit, you can immediately get full health here. This giant pot here is a full health restore, but you are going to lose gems right there. So ideally, when you drop down there, you want to make sure that you do a quick jump like I did and re-employ your cloud, so that way you avoid that bullet. It's tight, it's scary, but once you get used to it, it's not so bad. But I clench every time I do it regardless. So you do what you can to avoid it. Obviously, you're gonna have to come down here. Watch out for the spikes here, but it's not that big a deal. No big deal. Now this right here is your gem pods, your only source of gems if you need them. There are 12 in this one. Now coming down here, you want to make sure that you swat that guy on the way down, because it'll keep him from shooting you, give you an open opportunity from this point to start launching sheep to clear the way in front of you. As it relates to them in this particular segment, because you're not going to be able to fly over the top of this, your best bet is to hit them with pillows. So a lot of jumping and pillow action will be coming up here. You can kind of try to ignore the guys on the ground. They're RNG placed, so that could get you in trouble. You may land on the top of one, but it's certainly preferable taking a bullet to the face, because these little marching ones only do 1 point of damage versus the 4 that taking the shot is. So prioritize in your movement getting to those gyrocopter ones, because they are the bigger threat here. Like there, I risked it, got away with one, but again, I'm gonna take my damage from the other guys and just be able to barrel through there. So again, the sheep are gonna clear the path as much as possible. Maybe you shoot more than 1 or 2, like I just went with 1. Probably want to maybe launch 2, just because they will change their bounce angle a little bit, clear things a little bit more. But again, just make sure you take out those gun ones. This guy, drop down and take care of him first, and then quickly you're going to want to get in there if you can. You can actually beat that cycle to get that guy before he shoots you, but it's about how you approach and get in there. Unfortunately, I keep triggering him. Ideally, when you're dropping down, that cannonball is probably not in a spot where you're too far to the right, which will engage him. And then that way, when you come in there, it'll be nice and smooth. You do a cloud jump, you can get up there, you jump and you smack him with that pillow. And then you can just easily sheep this guy down with one extra pillow strike at the end. Keeps you in a better, cleaner spot than when I just put myself in here. But it's all about distance. But fortunately, there could be enough gem drops, not only from the Tinker Bats, but also like the smaller pots here, to be able to get you back up to level 4. Ideally, you do want to go into the risky fight with the level 4 because you're going to want to have as many sheep in play at all times as possible, because they are going to do the lion's share of the work on the boss. That's basically the first stage in a nutshell. 6-1 is done, and we're in a good spot here. From here on out, there isn't any really good gem opportunities. You got some small pots that you can get 1 or 2 from, maybe a 5er if you're really lucky. Any big pot in this screen, though, is going to be nothing but full health restore. And this is more about navigating the spike pillars, but they do have some very deviously placed Tinker Bats that you will have to be very cognizant of here. Try to get through this stage next. This first guy that's coming up, he's going to be not killable in time, so my recommendation here would be jump over him and not worry about killing him. His bullet spread obviously will happen before you're able to get to him, so you would eat a bullet if you were to try to kill him. Fortunately, that first one's low enough there that you don't have to worry about it being a problem. This is the devious dream squid I was referring to. So this is a nasty place for this, because obviously as you're holding right, if you don't do a cloud jump here, you do a normal jumping into the cloud, you're going to track right into it. So from this platform here where I'm at, you're going to want a cloud jump, because this platform goes just up to underneath where that squid is. So it goes up pretty far and can get you in trouble. If you do that and then add a jump there at the end, then you're able to get over it without any problem. And then you just have to worry about addressing this Tinker Bat, which I just did. Just get there really quickly and smack him before he activates and starts shooting. And then that sets you up good to get through this remaining first screen. Some chances for gems here and here. You might get a lucky 5. This goes really high, so be careful. This ring can be a savior. You could also just go, believe it or not. I'm an idiot. That was a bad jump on my part as I was trying to set up for that. So you can just go. This actually isn't as high as it looks. And then if you're very careful here, you could actually be able to drop from that particular one down here without grabbing these rings and then navigate your cloud through. I would recommend maybe at least until you're used to the movement and the flow, you just take it very cautiously, maybe grab that ring until you see a good opportunity to go underneath there. It is really tight to be able to drop down in there in one fluid motion, activate, kind of skirt that lava and not take the spike pillar and also not grab that squid. Tricky, doable, very, very tricky. Okay, now you got to watch out for spike ceilings here. So basically ignore the guy on the ground and just prioritize killing those guys. Pillow smacks go a long way. This guy will shoot before you get to him, or can potentially, so just ignore him. Same thing here, just go high. Again, health if you need it. You can grab this if you want to. My recommendation is not to. You go low enough, it'll be no problem to get underneath that since it doesn't go down enough. And then you've got that guy, which you just immediately smack. Boom, moving on. You can go underneath this guy. He's not that big a deal, but if you do that, he will do that to you. So your choice. You could go over. It's probably safer. I recommend staying high here. The only reason I like to come down here is because it gets you in a somewhat better position dealing with this, because you are going to have to come down here when you get here. And then obviously it's kind of tight to worry about the grenader that was right here and dealing with this guy. And I tend to often, like I say, it just happens a lot, I do get hit there. It's by something. If you're really in the flow and maybe not interrupting things as I did, it becomes a little bit easier. You should be able to get through there, but again, you have to prioritize not the guy on the ground, but the guy in the air and get through it. Right now, I'm 4 gems off where I'd like to be. It's not going to be that big a deal. Risky doesn't drop a lot of money though, however, so you are going to have to worry about the fact that what you have is what you're going into the fight with. This fight should ideally not even last remotely close to a point where you're going to get gems. This fight should go very quick, and corners are your friends, so sticking close to her is going to be really good. The sheep again are going to do the lion's share of the work here. All of these pots are full health. Why are there 4 version markers? This is just way forward, keeping track of what version it is. Also good visual indicator for us verifiers on speedrun.com, because we know what version you're running on. So if you're saying you're running 1.0 and then I see this, I'm going to call you out. Just warning you. All right, risky fight is basically the same as we're all used to. She's got the usual patterns. What we're probably going to see here, or ideally what we're going to see, is only about the first 2, maybe 3. So she's going to do a series of jumps like always. Most likely she'll try to jump on your head and lower your level if she can. So if you're coming here at level 4, be very mindful of what she's doing. Just keep that in mind, but it's RNG. She could come at you, she could go away from you. Ideally she wants to be somewhere near you, but a point where you can dodge, and then you can get her with some pillow strikes and maybe a sheep or 2 before she leaps away. Try to stick with her, try to keep the sheep flowing as you can. If you're at level 4, you can launch 4, so maybe 2 at a time. If you're at level 3 like I am, I'm probably going to launch 1 every time, maybe 2, but I want to keep 1 in reserve in case she gets away from me, and that way I can kind of throw it. You can also use it to try to kind of like predict where she's going too, so you could throw the sheep to where you think she's going to go, and if she happens to go that way, the sheep will do some additional damage there. The next thing that she'll do obviously will be to try to shoot you. That's the usual fare. She's going to hold the gun out. You can duck underneath that first one, so launching sheep from a crouch as well as just swiping her with a pillow during that, good way to get some damage. And then the second time that she puts that pistol out will be a spread shot, so you have to jump over that if she's not dead by that point. At level 4 she might be dead by that point if you do everything properly. If you don't kill her by then, the next thing she's going to do is the scimitar charge. Scimitar charges, it's kind of the same thing. She's going to go whatever side she's on. Obviously she's going to go opposite, and opposite. It's not like a lot of damage. I think it's only like a couple of points of damage in this mode, not as deadly as in the base game. Somewhat of a good opportunity if you can stick with her on one side to get some sheep damage in. The sheep, as they're bouncing, if she's charging across and they're in the right position, will deal just a little bit of extra damage. So that would be like what you want to see. Doesn't always happen, but you want to have them out there just in case. So sometimes I might throw one into the field while that phase is happening and she's on the far side away from me, just to help add a little bit of extra DPS while I'm waiting for her to come back. So we'll see how this goes. Ideally she'll die during the scimitar charge phase. If she doesn't die during that, you probably are going to get her shortly thereafter, and that's all you're going to see. You should never get to a point, ideally, in this fight where she's on her anchor. I would hope things would have to go horribly wrong for that to be a thing. So let's hope that you never have to deal with that. All right, see how this goes. She's a party pooper. She's coming close to me here. So after 3 jumps, she's going to go ahead and take a nice casual walk. I like to get some sheep out on her here, just whatever I can, and then now again, you are only limited based on the level that you have on how many sheep you're able to throw. So that's just an example of trying to get some DPS on her there. Casual stroll. Now technically she should already be dead. Like, I was really close. I missed some damage. Being level 4 and being able to throw more sheep obviously would do more here, but it's not long after the charge phase that she's going to die in the worst case scenario. And that was basically what I would consider a kind of a worst case scenario fight. Even though I didn't take any damage, I didn't really keep DPS up on her either, and that cost me a little bit. So it gave you kind of an idea of the slow one. Get used to at least the patterns, and you should never see more than that in the fight, like ever. Again, it's gone horribly wrong if you have, and you'll just have to learn how to adjust to that. So practice the fight, and then you've got your final auto scroller. I just cheese this one because there's no point in even risking taking the fall. Of course, I say that, and I'm risking taking the fall by using this strat, because again, if you don't do it on a proper rhythm, or let's say something else happens, or your input's eaten, you're likely to take a fall, and then basically all you do is start up again at the beginning of the auto scroller. But otherwise, this is a pretty safe way of going about it. You don't have a health meter. If you feel like eating those gears, have that. Be mindful to jump when you need to. And as far as I know, you can't soft lock this one like you can the other auto scroller. I think I've tried and it didn't work. At a certain point, your inputs just get completely shut off and Shantae drops to to the floor, and then it triggers the end sequence. So at least you're safe there. And as always, for timing purposes, time ends once the screen goes full white. It'll be after this gap here and on this wooden platform. Oh, time. And that is your run of Jammies mode in a nutshell. Happy learning. Good luck on your practice. And it's a fun run. Like I said, there's only a couple of challenging spots from a speed perspective. You just got to get used to the tower climb with the 3 statues that shoot fire. Obviously, probably one of the most tricky parts of the run. And then just navigating your cycles through some of those rooms. Inside of airships is probably one of the other ones. I'd say airships in general is one of the more, I'd say, challenging ones, at least to try to keep your level up, try to keep your health up and not die, and keep your cycles going and do everything at speed. That one obviously takes practice. Everything else is more like just fly over the stage. So have fun with this one. It's a fun category just because Shantae is so overpowered. But at the same time, it doesn't present a lot of challenge. So depending on what you're looking for in a speed run, might be up your alley, might not be. I enjoy it a lot, but it's not my favorite mode by any stretch. I'd give that to officer mode more than anything else, but that's a mash fest. And Narc has already covered that tutorial. So hopefully you've gotten some good information from Narc in that regard. That said, I'm going to appreciate you watching this tutorial. Have fun learning. Any questions out there? Obviously, one, recommend you watch the top runs on speedrun.com to get a good idea of top level strats and play that are utilized in those runs. And of course, as always, reach out to myself or Narc via Discord or on speedrun.com. We are more than happy to assist and answer any questions you may have. And who knows, maybe a new perspective brings in some new strats. So maybe you help pioneer this run to be even better than it is today. Regardless, thank you so much for watching this tutorial. Much appreciated. Thank you, chat, for bearing with me as ignoring you as I do the recording as well. You guys are always the best just for being here regardless. And Narc, thank you for being here as well and giving me ideas and helping me remember things that I may have forgotten in the time that I've been away from these runs. So always appreciate it. Take care, everyone, and enjoy.